Request Gaurav sir to take up the questions and case studies.
Sir, well done. And then we need to proceed, sir. A very good afternoon to all of you. I think my session is preceded by the much awaited, the much needed words of wisdom from Madhukar sir. I also would like to share something beyond what has been said by Madhukar sir. I'm just adding to that. See, a lot of show cause notices. I have been shown one show cause notice here. I have seen others also, but when you look at those show cause notices which are being framed, please do not apply your income tax or your VAT perspectives to those show cause notice. That is also one humble request. You have a new law. So I take a very small example. There was a gap in the closing stock which is being recorded at the time of inspection by the officers. So you had a stock of 1.5 CR, while in books the stock which was reflected was only meagerly 1.2 CR. So there is a gap of 30 lakh of stock on the date of inspection. Now friends, from income tax perspective there might be a problem. From the earlier VAT regime there might be a problem. But from the very perspective of GST, the gap in the stock is not the charging provision of the law. If there is a gap in the closing stock, that is not exigible to GST. What is exigible to GST is what I am speaking about, that is supply. You have to read the entire show cause notice to find out where is my charge being created by the officer. A mere difference of stock or assets or whatever is not. The officer should be very clearly reading down, okay, you have a gap of this and this is how it is a supply. Under 91, 93, 94, he has to spell it out. And once he spell it out, that is the time where your reply start. Do not start defending yourself like you do in income tax, because you have, I can say, a great history for income tax. But then we have a limited history in indirect taxes with chartered accountants. So with this, I take up my 10 case studies, primarily 9. I hope everybody is having those case study questions in front of them. The first case study is about the event supply itself. Question is very simple. I am a company, I am into telemarketing. What is telemarketing? I display my ad on the televisions, and when a customer sees that ad on the television, he is induced to buy that particular product. Now, when I am selling on the television, I am also promoting, sir, you can pay by cash. So delivery will come to you, you pay by cash. And thereafter also you have 15 days to return back. You will have 100% cash back in 15 days. So I am very happy as a customer. I saw a television advertisement. I simply ordered for that particular product. I thought, sir, you are giving me a timer. It's a recorder. So, that particular product, the customer has a choice not to pay, and this product will come back to me returned. Then also, once he accepts, he pays, he uses it for 10 days, and then he says, no, this is not what I wanted. I return back, and I get 100% cash back. Now, this company has a total turnover of say 35 CR. But the total amount of goods which are dispatched to the customer is 100 CR. And out of that only 55 is into effective sale. Now my humble question which was there in this particular case study was, at what stage should we identify that supply has happened and tax should be paid? The moment I have dispatched the goods, the moment the customer has paid for that particular supply, or the moment when after 15 days has lapsed and that particular customer cannot return back goods, when should we? Now, in my question I have added figures so that I am wanting you to rethink on whatever answers has come to me. Am I very clear, sir? So 100 crores of goods I am sending, 65% are coming back to me. Only 35 crores of sale I have out of that 100 crore of dispatch. But since it is a circulating thing, It is not that I'm losing 65%, it is a circulation. So effectively my stock may be 20 CR, I'm able to sell 35 CR, it is on a rotation basis. So should I outrightly, when I send the goods, should I make a invoice there and then and pay the taxes to the government? Second, no, that time I'm not very sure, but when the customer will pay, I will issue the invoice then and then I will pay the tax. Third thought process is no. Even the customer has got a right to give back the goods. That fructification of that sale happen after 15 days. So my humble view on the topic is, we are dealing with the word supply. So there was an offer in terms of that television advertisement which I showed. There was an acceptance in the form of a call which the customer has given to me. And on that particular acceptance, that particular sale, that contract has completed. Now whatever extra benefits I am giving to the customer in terms of payment at the time of delivery or the 15 days payment, those are extra virtues, extra things which I am giving to my customer. I might be giving a warranty for 4 years, which my competitor is giving for 1 year. This is just to induce my customer to buy my product. Now your client might tell you, sir, if I make it a supply at the time when I am sending the good, then I am paying 18 CR. So there is a blockage of capital. I will tell him, no sir, whenever the goods come back, you have a right to issue credit note because there is a sale return which has happened. Or effectively the sale has not happened. So you have got a right to issue a credit note under section 34. Sir, even then, it takes a 3 months time for that particular thing to come back to me because there is a long process at the post office, at the courier wala, or at my own office, whatever. When I say that is your problem, you have extended so many inducements to your client. I have not. It is your choice, your business model. You will have to live with it. If you have accepted these all returns from the customer, the payment of tax cannot be postponed. The moment that particular supply contract has been closed, you please issue the invoice, pay the taxes. If not, then it will return back. Now, my dear friend, there is also a thought process which have been told to me that supply never happened because the customer has not paid. Sir, there is a difference between the supply being done from the supplier's end and the customer paying for the particular supply. I give you another example. There was one truck which you had to send me to Delhi. A complete truck of cement bags. And unfortunately, so this was a November season with no rainfalls in there. But unfortunately, when the truck was coming midway, there was a rain. And all the cement bags got wet and the cement became hard stone. It was converted. Now, the place at which this happened was Bhopal. So there was no point that truck traveling to Delhi. So you have already issued an invoice. Now that particular truck, the truck wala took it to the nearest warehouse and there was an insurance claim processing which was done and those goods were disposed of there in itself. 2 questions. Can I cancel the invoice which I had issued when the goods were disposed or they started from my factory, not disposed, they started from my factory. Can I cancel that invoice because that particular goods never reached the customer? Number 2, can I issue a credit note under section 34? Can I do either of the 2 things? Yes or no, sir?
Yes.
What should I do? Cancel or issue a credit note? Those 2 events.
Issue a credit note.
Issue a credit note, sir. Under section 34, there are only 3 events under which a credit note can be issued. One is sale return, deficient supply, and the third is discounts. Under which of the 3 will you cover this? We have to bridge something between our accounting, whatever we have learned. We have been told you have to be prudent, you have to be conservative. That is all accounting principles. GST is not working on those accounting principles. GST is working as per the law which has been laid down in the CGST. So out of those 3, in which one will you take this?
Sale return.
Was the sale returned to you?
No, actually, it was supposed to be because of the damage of goods.
But it did not.
But it
So when the event never took place, the credit note cannot take place. So my dear friends, the credit note can also not be issued, and please do not commit an error of issuing, cancelling the invoice. So there was a valid invoice which happened, so the cancellation cannot happen. So my dear friend, for the only recourse which this particular company will be having will be in the form of refund. The supply never fructified, and therefore he will have to prove the facts on paper to the department, and he should get the refund. Right? So when we talk about supply, the first thing which we have to see is there is a difference between the accounting what we do, the accounting principles. So maybe in this particular case, auditor who is telling you, said, I will not allow you to identify your sale till the goods, the 15-day period is closed, because I am conservative. Now his accounting policy has got nothing to do with the GST law. GST law will take its own recourse. It will not be dependent whether your books of accounts have identified this or not. And I can tell you this is one of the problem areas which you will be finding in your reconciliation in 9C, one of the scenarios. The conservatism which has been followed by the auditor and the law which requires you to pay the taxes. So this was the first one. Any further questions on this, sir? No, please, sir. Sir, before we proceed, I will share one small instance with you. The post-lunch session is the toughest one. You have every right to sleep, but if you sleep, you should always remember one instance. Why did Abhimanyu die? Abhimanyu died because when the entire story was being told by Arjuna to his mother about how to get out of the Chakravyuh, the mother slept. And because mother slept, the baby could not hear how to get out of that Chakravyuh. On the day when action was to happen, the child knew how to get into Chakravyuh but not come out of Chakravyuh. Ultimately what happened was, he died. So my dear friends, if you sleep, you are not the Abhimanyu. Your clients are the Abhimanyu. You have heard half the story, but you do not know how to get out of on the action day. So either be totally with me or not with me. Yes, sir.
Sir, under accounting services may not be even sales. Number one. And number two, I recognize that as sales and make provision for expected returns. Those are also.
Anything, sir. There can be 100 ways the auditor. As auditors, I cannot challenge you. You are better equipped than me. 100 ways you can show this particular thing as sales or returns or net sales or discounts or whatever. But what I'm trying to tell you is the entries in the books of accounts will not determine the applicability of GST or determinability as to when the supply has happened in terms of the GST law. Right, sir? So this was the first one. Second, sir, taking this forward, I am referring to, so if you have to refer to supply, I think the Australian laws, the case laws are more equipped, they are well written in terms of defining the different components of supply. I have taken it from the ER 2006 09, I think. 9 EC. The basic prerequisites of supply. Number one, for a supply to happen, there should be a supplier. When you say a supplier, now with the section 25 and section 8 in place, the supplier is every different branch will be a different supplier. So I give you another one small example. I have told advertisement person, the person who manufactures the advertisement material, sir, please supply 10,000 keychains in my Mumbai branch, 10,000 keychain in my Bangalore branch, and 10,000 keychain in my Delhi branch. And please bill for the entire 30,000 to my Bangalore branch. The person who was making those particular advertisement keychain, he billed a total of 15 lakhs to my Bangalore branch. And entire credit was also given to my Bangalore branch because that person issued a CGST, SGST notes. My simple question, is there any other thing which this company need to do, or can it take the entire credit of this particular supply of advertisement material at the Bangalore branch? Is the story over, or is there any other supplier which is there which we cannot see? because we were not in a habit to see that supply. Yes, sir. Any other transaction which need to happen in this company or not? One more invoice from Bangalore to Delhi and Bangalore to Mumbai need to happen. Sir, this was a bill to ship to transaction which happened. Please mind it. So you have to be very careful that which goods are going where and billed where. And this can only happen when we actually, in principle, accept the theory of distinct person. Second, for every supply there has to be a recipient. If there is no recipient, there is no supply. Can I supply to self? I cannot supply to self in this new regime also. When we say self, it does not mean all India. It means that particular location which is within that particular GSTN. Because when I speak about the other GSTN, it is a distinct person. It is not me. So I am not supplying to self. I am supplying to a third person. So whenever you are speaking about the 29 states in India and 7 union territory, you are talking about 36 different persons in India. You are not talking about one person. So I am sending goods, I am sending services to my Bangalore branch. Sir, I am sending something to a distinct person. Third, to make a supply, a person must do something. To not to do something is also to do something. If I am agreeing to not to walk out from this room, I am agreeing to do something. That is not to walk. So there must be something which has been done. Act stationary, that momentum, without a momentum there cannot be a supply. A supply cannot be made by more than one entity. This is very crucial a concept to understand. I am a chartered accountant. I have got 4 branches, one in Delhi, one in Mumbai, one in Chennai, one in Bangalore. My client in Bangalore told me, Gaurav, I need you to audit all my locations in these 4 locations, all my factory units. I said, very gladly, sir. But I will only accept invoice from you in Bangalore. So I told all my officers that, sir, all of you will be doing the respective branches so that the commutation and travelling costs are reduced. So Mumbai branch is auditing the Mumbai branch of client, Chennai, Bangalore, Delhi. Now in Bangalore I am raising a consolidated invoice of 15 lakhs to the client. So my dear friends, when I am doing so, there is not, again, when I am saying a supply cannot be made by more than one entity, there are 4 entities which are making supply. The Delhi branch, the Bangalore branch, the Chennai branch, the Mumbai branch. When these 4 people are making the supply, can we call these 4 are given to the client? No, sir. Only one person is making supply. Which is that one person? The Bangalore branch. Sir, then what is Mumbai, Delhi, or for that matter Chennai doing? Sir, they are again making a supply, but their recipient is not the client but the Bangalore branch. Am I very clear? So the client is getting services from Bangalore and these units are supplying services to Bangalore branch. So there is only one entity which is making supply and there is only one recipient. Somebody also can be said, there can be multiple recipients. Sir, how can there be a multiple recipient? Can there be multiple recipient? Sir, recipient has been defined as a person who is obligated to pay. In case there is a consideration, in absence of a consideration, who accepts the goods or services. Now you tell me, can there be more than one person who are obligated to pay for the same supply? No, sir. There has to be one recipient. When we speak about recipient, other than in context of consideration, I take an example of a telecom tower. There is a telecom tower which is installed here, and all of us are having for example, Airtel SIMs. Is that telecom tower supplying services to all of us, or one of us, or some of us? Why not all of us, sir? All of us are having SIM of Airtel. Why some of us? You are telling me Airtel is giving better services to you than... No. So all of us are having Airtel SIMs. That telecom tower, is it giving supply or service to whom? You, me, all. Sir, at a particular time the connection happens with the person who is wanting to have that connection. There is a limited bandwidth. 10,000 people cannot connect to a telecom tower at one instance. So that multiplicity, as you are serving your client, that bandwidth, that time sharing happens in all kinds of. So Gaurav Gupta is serving 15 clients. How come he is doing? Because right now he is speaking to one client. Once he puts off the call, he speaks to another client. And for that matter, he is just doing a time sharing. Similarly, the telecom tower can have a bandwidth sharing, but when you look into a supply, that is between a supplier and a recipient. A supplier might be through his own mode, can supply to more than one person, but for a particular supply, one recipient, one supplier. Supply of goods happens.
For identifiable goods, the purchase order is common, but if the quantity and the locations are identified separately, then I think each transaction becomes a separate supply.
That is what I am saying, sir. Even in this particular session, if I am sharing something with you, it is not that if it is a one-to-many supply.
No,
I am responsible either one-to-one, if I have taken a consideration from each one of you. You have every right to understand, can sue me if you don't understand that. But if it is not something where I am not...
Deliberation may not be the criteria in the case of physical goods, which are identifiable goods. The head office may still pay for it, or in the case of the chain, Bangalore branch may still pay for it. But if it is identified that the quantity will be dispatched to Delhi, Mumbai or Calcutta, then I don't think so there is any need for in Bangalore branch to raise an invoice on another party.
I think you are still with that marketing material, so I said. Every time I'm definitely having one person who is stuck with that marketing thing for half an hour.
No, not marketing. In the
No,
sense.
I'll just come back to you, sir, on that. Sir, tell me one thing, that Bangalore, suppose that Bangalore is not a branch. So this is my office, your office and Madhukar sir's office. Now, you have in your office called for 30,000 because we three sat together and we said, let's order in bulk so that we have some economies of scale. The entire shipment has come to 10,000 to his office, 10,000 to mine and 10,000 to yours. The entire invoice has come to you. Two questions. Can you take the entire credit of 30,000? Yes or no?
I can take it. I am going to send you a list of the...
No, forget invoicing me. Simple question. You are not invoicing me. Can you take the credit of 30,000?
No, see, credit depends on what will be my output. It is not my first question, it is second question.
16.2 requires receipt. 16.2 requires receipt of goods or services.
That's why
You never had the goods or services.
in the case of transfer of document to title or the goods before delivery, there is no reason to take delivery. The credit is given in credit.
Point taken. So now what you are saying is I have not taken delivery. There is a constructed delivery which I took, and therefore the goods have gone to you. But now I am raising an invoice because I made a supply agreement.
Right.
So now will you be raising an invoice on his office and my office?
Definitely, that's why I am taking the credit.
Exactly, sir. Now this is the same scenario when you are dealing with your branches. Here, because it was my office, you were very easily able to identify Gaurav is a distinct person, I need to raise invoice on him because this is not my expenditure. When it comes to my own branches, then the entire concept which we had prior to GST comes into play. These are my own branches, why should I raise an invoice on them? Sir, I need to because that particular goods, had it gone to any other distinct person, my branch is as good as a distinct person.
It is not required to raise invoice because if the supplier is aware about the quantity and the which has to deliver to the, like Carney puts a contract with Dell, 15,000 computers or 5,000 computers, and each location, these are the number of computers. So we get separate invoice for each.
So that is a different thing, sir. The facts change.
No, fact doesn't change. You put a occasion or a purchase order with the supplier, with the quantity and the location. So there is a need of, again, head office to raise an invoice because the material directly goes to the branch.
Point well taken. If you are raising different invoices, no need to raise an invoice. But if you are getting any single invoice for services or goods enjoyed at different location, please do raise the invoice. That is the whole point I am making. Next one, sir. Supply usually, but not necessarily, requires something to be passed from one entity to another. Not necessarily, but usually. Transactions that are neither based in an agreement that binds the parties in some way or involve a supply of goods, services or some other thing does not establish a supply. Say mere an agreement will not make us constitute a supply in itself. We have a question on forfeiture. I'll take this particular point when we discuss the case study on forfeiture. So I hope we have understood 2-3 points here. Number one, accounting does not determine my GST liability. Number two, my agreement can be arising out of a written or a oral or various deeds or even unspoken agreement with my customer, and that will be tantamounting to a supply. Forfeiture. The very next question, my simple question is, I was supposed to sell you a land of 1000 square yard. The entire contract was for 50 crores, whereby I took an advance of 10 crore rupees. But later on you denied to purchase that land, and therefore as per the agreement, I have got a right to forfeit that particular amount. So I forfeited that 10 crore. Will this forfeiture of 10 crore will be exigible to GST? In simple word, does forfeiture leads to any supply, tantamounts to any event of supply? Yes or no, sir?
Doesn't tax. It is immovable property.
It is an immovable property, sir, but I have taken an advance.
Yes.
Now I am forfeiting it because you said no. So I am not going to court of law for a specific performance. In lieu of it, that is how it is being said. In lieu of it, now I am forfeiting that amount. Is it a supply or not?
Primary activity is not a supply.
Primary activity is an exempt now.
Primary activity
Activity is an
is
exempt
Is a not
outside purview of GST.
right.
Land.
So, I'll revert my question. My question is whether these are two different supplies or this is not a supply at all. I need not bother.
It is not a supply.
It is
Not a supply.
not a supply. So forfeiture is not a supply. Any notice paid, or for that matter any amount which I forfeit of my contractor resulting out of a contract, I need not pay any taxes because these are not resulting into any supply.
Forfeiture is covered under definition scope of supply.
Scope of?
Yeah.
So where exactly is it covered? Obligation to do or not to do or refrain from something.
When it explains disposal,
Right.
so it says that forfeiture is included.
So that is an example which government has taken, right? I am now stretching my example to another example. You have agreed to sell me an item which is to be taxed at the rate of 28%. The entire contract was for 50 lakhs. I gave you an advance of 10 lakhs. But then after that I said I don't need this supply. So you said since you have given me an advance and you are not going ahead with this, I am forfeiting this 10 lakh rupees. You have already discharged your tax at the rate of 28% on advance. Suppose goods advance is taxable. So you have already discharged that. Now you have already discharged a tax at the taxing event in considering that as a supply earlier. Now at the time of forfeiture, will you be again paying 18%? Or will you say no, that transaction is cancelled, I'll take refund of 28%. I am now entering into a new transaction of forfeiture.
Yeah, I mean, logically it should happen.
No, not logically, legally.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, sir. Have you got my question? When it was land, some of you might be having doubt. No, forfeiture, I am getting free of cost and money. I should be paying 18%. The refrainment from going into the code of law is also a supply. And therefore, refrainment is also a supply. I should pay tax at 18%. Now, in the other example, where you have already discharged 28% on the initial advance, and now that advance is being forfeited. If forfeiture itself is a supply event, then you are supposed to pay 18% again. If not, then you need not. So my humble view is this forfeiture will not lead to a new taxing event, and this tax is not paid. My humble view, again, full chances of, I would say, discussion, debates, people will vary on this particular thought process, but we wait for the final verdicts from the various courts. Indirect tax have had its own learning time. If you look into the works contract street, I shared this, it started in 1958 and it has stretched till 2016. Still there are a lot of disputes, debates, discussion. The Honorable Supreme Court has given the verdict under a division bench, 3-member bench, 5-member bench. Still we are waiting for a 7 amendment. So things will go on in terms of works contract. So indirect tax will take its own time and space. Cross-charge liability.
On that procedure, when the government is declared under the Schedule 2, activities to be treated as a supply of goods or a supply of services, and there is an act of and a refrain, the underlying transaction has no relevance. So if I am satisfied unless I am fitting into the act of extraordination or refrain to do act or not to do an act, I am fitting into that, and it has become a deemed fiction. But it is a deemed fiction, there is no scope whether the underlying transaction was taxable or not taxable.
Sir, that is what I explained just now, that in case of a forfeiture, the only thing which you have to see is whether this is leading to another new supply or not. If it is not leading to another new supply, there cannot be a taxing event. If the original supply you have already seen, whatever has happened, this results only a financial transaction. A financial transaction merely is not exigible to tax. So please look at it from that perspective. I gave you an example of 28% thing. Are you willing to pay 18% again on that?
Advance, if I have to do advance adjustment in the current month, and I have to show fresh invoice.
So that 28% which you paid earlier will be adjusted back to you. So you will get back 28%.
Right.
Agreed, sir. You live with that thought, but I am sharing another thought with you. Right, sir? We move. Cross-charge liability. Now, this is one case where there is a private limited company which is into the engaged into the business of running of play schools. Now, when you are into the running of play school is an exempted supply. So you have 15, 20, whatever branches across India, but the entire operations are being done from the head office which is located at, say, Bangalore, Delhi, whatever. The question which is there is at the head office there are many expenses which are expended by that company. So including the salary cost of 1 crore, marketing expenses 4 crore, rent, maintenance another 1.5 crore, development of content 2 crore. Totaling, let us say, an amount of 15 crore, out of which I have certain franchisee also on which I am paying taxes on the franchisee fee. So that 15 crore, 40% I am paying franchisee fee which is exigible to tax. Now my dear friends, tell me, will this particular amount which I am expending at the head office, will it be tantamounting to any cross charge between the different locations or not? Does it require any cross charge from the head office to different location? If yes, that cost appropriation, will it be exigible to GST or not? Will it be called a supply or not? You all have heard about the decisions of Columbia Asia. Yes or no? You all have. Now my dear friend, tell me one thing. Are you in agreement with Columbia Asia? I am an employee, I am located and based out of Bangalore. I am making supply to Chennai branch, I am making supply to Delhi branch. Am I right or wrong? So, am I the employee of the company or am I the employee of merely the Bangalore branch and giving services from Bangalore to Chennai and Delhi? Are we in line on this particular thing? Does the employee belongs as an employee of the company in the country, or will the employee be called as an employee of a particular GSTN?
Employee of the company.
Employee of the company. So do I need to make a cross charge from Bangalore?
No.
I don't need to make a cross charge. So all the expenses which are expended, they are now accumulated in Bangalore. Now tell me one thing. If all the expenses are accumulated at Bangalore, the rent, the marketing, everything, all those expenses, are they used by other branches? What is the mechanism? I can send those particular expenses to different location. It is only by mere cross charge. Now when I make a cross charge, then what will happen? There is a supply which happens, sir. When I say this, let me just change the person from my branches to distinct person. Again, I take the same example which I took earlier. I have Sanjay ji's office, I have my office, I have Mr. X office. So Bombay, Delhi and Bangalore, 3 offices. And again, under the common pool, we decided that yes, all the marketing expenses will be undertaken by Bangalore office. We have 3 different persons. So will that person who is sitting in Bangalore need to make a cross charge to me? Yes or no? Yes. So why are we saying that that particular branch in Bangalore is not going to make a cross charge to me? It should be. Please understand and appreciate. We have been told that this is one nation, one tax. My dear friend, I would like to rephrase it. It is not one nation, one tax. It is more to do with one nation, uniform tax. If we are living right now in 36 nations, the concept of transfer pricings of costs in indirect taxes has not matured to a different level. It will mature over a period of time. These things might not have acceptability today. I take a very small example again. If I am a taxable entity, if I take the entire 400 crores of marketing expense at Delhi office, which is for use by all the entities, can I take the credit of the entire 400 crores? No, I cannot. The entire goods and services are not exclusively used by me. Unless I make a cross charge, I cannot use that particular credit. So I might need to reverse that also. Please also appreciate, under section 73, the 73 and 74, the government has got a time frame of 5 years. 5 years for raising any demand under GST. From the end of financial year, the due date of filing of annual return. So 5 years will end at what date? For 17-18 they will end at 2023. And what is the last date when you can claim your credits in GST? September 30, 2018. Matter over. So if any cross charge demand comes up later, that particular branch will have to dispose the tax. But the receiving locations will not be able to take the credit. Because that particular demand, I hope yesterday in IDC, when you were reading section 17, there was a section 16 and 17. There was a bar that you cannot take the credit of the tax which has been paid under section 74. So my dear friend, you cannot claim that particular credit. That particular amount which has been paid under the recovery under section 74 will become a cost to the system. Am I very clear, sir? So cross charge is very important because in the coming times, the receiving location will not be able to have the credit, but the liability to pay the tax on the selling location remains as it is. So, can the, let's look at this particular chart. This is the entire ecosystem of GST. We deal with the customer, we deal with the vendors, we also deal interstate. Interstate when we say between the different branches. In this particular 9 and 9C, whenever you are forming these two forms, I think the trial balance will be the base and this will be the most important document which you will have to see. If you do not have a distinct trial balance, I can tell you whatever 9 and 9Cs we are filling, it will be all wrong. Wrong in the sense, you will not never be able to make out what is my supply, what is my credit. Am I making any supply to any other distinct person? Am I receiving any supply from another distinct person? All these questions come out from the trial balance. A trial balance will act as a barometer for that particular unit and it will help the auditor to determine whether what are the exact nature of supplies and inward supplies for this particular separate distinct person. Now, friends, why unit-wise trial balance I have already explained. In cross charge, certain things which we have to consider. I am sure we are aware about the valuation part also. Rule 28 second proviso. There is a big relief which has been granted in Rule 28 second proviso. And what exactly is that? If the receiving location is able to take the entire credit, then the value which will be on the invoice shall be considered as open market value by the department. Meaning thereby, in terms of cross charge, when the receiving location can take the credit of this cross charge, you need not bother even 1 rupee of invoice or 1 lakh rupee of invoice or 1 crore rupees of invoice will not be challenged by the department. No sir, we should send it or we should distribute on the basis of turnover. Another person said, no sir, we should distribute on the basis of employees which are located. Third person says, no sir, we should distribute this on the basis of customers. And fourth thought process which comes up is, sir, we should distribute as an input service distributor. Sir, what is an input service distributor? Is cross-charge and input service distributor, can we use these two terms interchangeably? Yes or no? Why no?
In the case of input service distributor, the third party should be involving in the charging of our giving supply of services. So in this, what we call cross-charge.
Sir, in my marketing expense or for that matter the rental expense, it is the third party which is providing, which I am making a cross-charge to my different position. So always there will be a third party, there will be a cross-charge of only cost plus some markup, whatever. So without third party there is no problem. Anyways, so what is the difference between a ISD and a cross-charge?
Yes, sir. ISD you are able to identify the exact nature of the activity of related to the branch. You are able to establish a relationship of the branch.
So give me one example, sir. If I am talking about a rent which I have paid on the HO, which is worth 10 crore, is it not an identifiable expense? Cannot be distributed through ISD? Can I distribute the rent at HO through ISD? I would request everyone just to have a look at the definition of ISD once. Let us open up, because this one thing is also very important. I was not supposed to take it, but if you are wanting to understand cross-charge, you need to understand ISD as well, sir.
When the unit receiving the services is not using it for its upward supply, then it has to go for ISD.
Ma'am, you have actually said it the other way. So I am requesting you to just open up it for once time. The input service distributor, how we read it. An input service distributor means an office of the supplier of goods or service or both, which receives tax invoice. Now my dear friend, what the interesting part of the definition says is, the supplier of goods or services has received the services. First of all, there cannot be a ISD for a goods. ISD can only be there for service, but ISD is only existing where he is receiving merely the invoice, not the service. Am I very clear? Section 2, subsection 61. You be with that definition, ISD can only be applied if you are not the supplier but a mere office which is receiving not the service but the tax invoice. In case of rent in the head office, you are receiving both the service and the invoice. So you cannot act like a input service distributor for the rental which you have received for the head office. Am I very clear, sir? So suppose I have received the GTS services in Mumbai, but I received the invoice in Delhi. So what I will do, I will take the credit. Suppose a tax was charged to me at 12%. And as an ISD, I will route that tax to Mumbai. But for the marketing expense for which the mandate was given by me, the Delhi office, I will take the invoice, take the credit and make a cross charge. I cannot act as a ISD. Am I very clear with this particular thing? So there is a difference between being a supplier, a cross charge and an input service distributor. Three different concepts. This is, I think I can tell you, this will be very prominently seen by the department in after 2 years. And the interesting part is, whatever you do today, the implications are only come after 2 years, they are not coming today. The show cause notices will start coming after 2 years. By that time, everyone has become, I would say, much aware about the concepts and everything. And that is where the problem is. Today you are sitting on a novice concept. It will take adaptation time for both the department, the SSCs and the professional. But by the time everybody gets equipped, there is no recourse available to the professional or the SSC. But yes, department has got its own time of 5 years. 5 years from the due date of filing of annual return, which is 31st of December 2018 for 17-18. Wait till 2023, I think you will be better equipped. Department will be better equipped, assessors will be better equipped. But none of us can do anything about 17-18 by then. Going forward, sir. Credit optimization. When I say credit optimization, how is cross-charge a tool for credit optimization? Sir, when you speak about input service distributor, the rule lays down very clear guidelines as to how to distribute the credit under ISD. And what is the formula which has been given? It is based on the turnover. Now, my dear friend, tell me one thing. When you are talking about cross-chargeability, is there any formula which has been given in the law?
No.
Can you force me to distribute the credits merely on the basis of turnover? No, sir. You cannot. And therefore, cross-chargeability can become a tool for optimum utilization of credit, provided, my dear friend, now the word of caution, you have the benefit of second proviso to Rule 20. If you do not have that particular benefit, do not go for that particular optimization, then you will have to distribute in a judicious basis amongst everyone. The example of the keychain which has been taken, the best route would have been to send the invoice along. That does not need any credit optimization. But when the billing has happened at one place and the goods have gone to different places, that is where you need to be very particular about where the credits are coming and where the goods or services are going. So cross-chargeability, I hope the things are clear. Any further question on cross-chargeability?
Just a thought. Invoice has, in the keychains definition, invoice has been issued to the head office. But the goods are being issued in a different situation. So here, ISD can be considered.
Sir, ISD, again I am saying 261, ISD cannot apply for goods. Only the credit of services can be distributed through ISD. See, this particular law, you have to read the definitions very carefully. I give you another very small example. I purchased a machinery worth ₹1 crore this year. Right, sir? On that particular machinery, there is an installation charge by the vendor, which is a different vendor. I got it installed from a person who is very specialized, and he charged 50 lakhs from me. So the total amount of machinery which will get capitalized into my books of account will be 1.50, right? Up to the installation and put to use, you will capitalize everything. Now tell me one thing. There is a distinction which is required in Form 9. Input taken on inputs, capital goods and input services. How much of this particular input you will attribute towards capital goods? Will it be on 1.5 crore into 18%, which is 25 lakhs? Will it be 1 crore into 18%, 18 lakhs, or it will be 50 lakh into 18%, 9 lakh? 1.5 into 18%. Now, you are the auditor, I am the client. I first present you the first invoice, which is for the purchase of machine. That says purchase of machine. You saw the invoice. You read the definition of capital goods, which reads, capital goods means goods, comma, value of which has been capitalized in the books of accounts. So you saw the invoice, okay, it is a machine invoice, it is a goods invoice, and therefore the value is capitalized. It is capital goods, I reported under capital goods. Then I gave you the invoice for installation. You again look at the definition. Capital goods means goods, comma, value of which is capitalized in the books of account. Is this 50 lakhs goods? This is input services, my dear friends, and these are the, I would say, errors which will be committed in Form 9 and going and so on. I give you the repercussion of this also. After 2 years, you have disposed that particular machine, 1 crore machine for 10 lakh rupees. How much amount of tax you are supposed to pay? I hope everyone is aware that you are supposed to reverse back 5% per quarter, and otherwise you have to reverse back the entire credit. So 2 years, how much credit you can be eligible to take? 40%. 60% you are supposed to reverse. So will you be reversing 60% of 27 lakhs or 18 lakhs? Yes, sir.
27 lakh.
Sir, 27 lakh. Was that 50 lakh capital goods?
Yes, sir.
I have given you the invoice, it is for installation.
The receipt is a capital. Because the definition of capital goods, the value which is capitalized in the books of account of the person claiming the input tax credit.
Agree.
The input tax credit not in respect of goods, claiming the input tax credit.
Agree.
So I am totally claiming a credit of 1.5 CR. So for me, capital goods value is a 1 CR and the credit pertaining to that is a 27.5.
I would request you to read the definition from beginning again. And you have my 50 lakh of installation invoice. Capital goods means? Capital goods means?
Capital goods means goods,
Goods, comma.
value which is capital.
Agreed, sir. First, the first criteria is what? Capital goods means goods, comma. So the definition is very clear. It has to be goods first, comma, value of which is capitalized.
Can't read in that as
Sir,
Not extend.
you are,
You can't extend it.
you can't extend it. Huh?
doesn't say the value is also has to be read.
So any value which is capitalized is capital goods. That is what you are saying. Ignoring the word goods. Ignoring the word goods.
Pertaining to that,
It is not saying pertaining to that goods.
it is neither saying it is not pertaining to that. It is for that the value has to be referred in that way.
Sir,
And
again,
input tax credit what has been used for subsequently.
Agreed.
Which covers the services as well as.
sir, my dear friend, please appreciate. The definition is beginning with the condition and comma, after that it is stretching that condition to another condition. So the goods are divided into two categories, inputs and capital goods. Services are not divided into any category. Input services remain input services. It is only the goods which are first capital goods, and if they don't qualify in the definition of capital goods, they become services. I live with what you say. Now tell me one thing, it is a consolidated contract. It is one single composite contract of supply, installation and erection of that machinery. And that particular machinery is the HVAC, the AC which is there in this hall. What is the invoice I will issue to you on this? Will it be of goods or services? I am the supplier.
Combined.
Combined, sir. But will it be supply of goods or supply of services? Why, sir?
Because it's a composite contract.
It's a works contract, section 2.19.
Right.
So now I have given you a invoice of services, but in your books you have capitalized as plant and machinery. Is it capital goods? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
Live with it then, sir. I leave you with that particular thought, but I am leaving you with a very serious thought.
Yes. I agree with that.
I leave you with a very serious thought. Read the definition again, go home, go back. I might be wrong, I would be happy to be wrong. Are we dividing goods into two categories, or are we taking the base as books of accounts and then deciding capital goods? Anything capitalized in the books of accounts shall be capital goods. I agree. What you say is well. But the definition says anything which is goods, comma, value which is capitalized is capital goods. So goods has been bifurcated into two sides, capital goods and goods. Services are not touched by it. So please do mind, I am for sure this one particular problem in case of composite contracts where plant and machinery, you are getting works contract tomorrow. When it is being asked, there will be a huge challenge with the department that these are capital goods or not, because on capital goods there is a requirement of reversal. In case of input services, there is no reversal requirement. Yes, sir.
According to 2119, works contract is a means when the
Works contract means a contract. That is the beginning line of that.
for the
Comma.
where it is transferring to a immovable property.
Yes, sir.
So in this situation, plant and machinery is the immovable property. AC.
But that is an exclusion. No? Plant and machinery has been excluded other than pipeline for transmission and telecom department. Plant and machinery has been excluded from that immovable property.
So it can be included in the works contract.
It will be a works contract, but then credit under 17(5)(c) and D will not be barred. That plant and machinery exclusion is there. But are you getting it? The way we interpret, the way we read, if we put everything into capital goods, tomorrow the reversals are pertinent, but obvious. But if we are taking them clearly as input services, that is how the law has defined it in Schedule 2 as to be read up to the amendment date. So my dear friend, they become input services, that 5% condition will not apply. We look out for other conditions as to any reversals, whether they are required or not, but not under Rule 43. Right, sir? We further proceed.
Sir,
No, please.
charge, what about the manpower supply versus the employee cost which we are discussing? Whether there is need to be recharge has to be done, because in light of the Volkswagen deadline, which says the regulation does not consider the supply of services, and service tax is not applicable.
Right.
So will not that rescue us?
My dear friend, you are asking me a question or you are giving me a reply. Actually, I have missed that. You have read the Volkswagen judgment very correctly and by heart, and you have used the correct word. But then the word was deputation. In a case of a multinational, that particular employee was moved from one nation to another nation, deputed. There is where you should also read the judgment of illegally in income tax, which determines who is the employee in India. Now this particular employee is deputed, so the entire rights of the employer, if you read the OECD guidelines, the economic employer becomes this particular person. So when he becomes an employer, that Schedule 3 benefit will be flowing. So he is no longer an employee of the foreign state. So similarly now when you have Delhi and Chennai and Bangalore as three different nations, has the deputation happened? No. He is stationed at Bangalore, supplying services to Delhi and Chennai. If you depute him to Chennai, I agree with you. You have rightly read the judgment of Oxford.
If I this is that if I give an employment contract, I will say you have to look after the Bangalore, Delhi and Tamil Nadu, whatever the state. Will still the recharge will be required?
Sir, then that means that I am allocating a work to my employee. But there will be only one branch which will be issuing that employment letter. So employer is telling the employee what to do.
Okay.
So I remain the employer. I am making a supply. So I allocate 3 clients to my employee. Can I do so? I do. Deputation is the keyword which you use, which you correctly read in the Volkswagen judgment. I live with it. You depute, matter over. But if you are not deputing, you are supplying services from this particular location to other location. This deeming fiction of distinct person is causing a confusion in terms of how we read it in income tax vis-a-vis how we read it in this particular act. Tell me one thing. We have all filed the returns for our directors of companies. And usually what the company does, they provide for a pool of car charge as perquisite to the salary of director. What is the charge? It is around 1400 per month. Am I right, sir? Income tax I am not very sure. Now when you are putting that charge of 1400 as a perquisite to the director, you are saying that director has used that vehicle for both official as well as personal purpose. So when you are saying this, that this has been used for both personal and official purpose, in GST you have opened up the Pandora box that there is a supply of an asset for temporary use by another employee who is a different person. So there is a supply from the employer to the employee. Are we ready for that particular notices? Time will tell. Lot to see, hidden questions, hidden implication. The income tax, the GST, they have their own, I would say, interchangeable implications. Let's wait and see that. License office taxability, sir. Many companies have license office in India. Those license offices cannot undertake business activities in India as per the RBI guideline. They can act as the ground play for license work, which are listed few categories of work. So arranging the ground arrangements, making aware of the customers about the product and all those petty works. Checking the quality and stuff for in case of you are a purchasing branch or agent. Now the question is, Is license office making any supply to the foreign office? Before we answer that, let us first examine whether the license office itself can be called a fixed establishment or not. The way fixed establishment has been defined in the statute, it means any office which has three prerequisites with it. Number one, degree of permanency. So you are not there for 2 days, 3 days, you are establishing that office that yes, I am available there. There is a degree of permanency you being there. Number two, there is availability of human resource. Number three, there is availability of technical resource. If all of them are there, then that particular establishment can be called a fixed establishment. So my first question is, can a license office be called a fixed establishment, yes or no? Yes sir, it can definitely be called. Second question, if it is a fixed establishment, you are bound to take a registration because that becomes your place of business. If you are making a supply to another person. Now the second question which comes is that particular foreign location, can it be called a third person? Can it be called a different person? Yes, but of course section 8, IGST. Third and the last question, am I making any supply because the license office only gets reimbursement of the expenses made by it? So am I making any supply? Yes or no? To the main office. One side we have the decision of Columbia Asia within the country, you are making supply to different offices. Another, you have this particular judgment with you, Habula New Billion BV, which says that the services or supplies by license office are not taxable. Two contrary judgments altogether. Why? As mentioned in the fact that the license office does not have any independent revenue or clients, the very notion that to provide a supply you have to have an independent client defeats the requirement of having distinct person. Because then what you mean is I can never make a supply to myself. I am not a distinct person, I am myself throughout India. And similarly, I am myself outside India also. We are going back to the days of Rolls-Royce and similar decisions when 66A in service tax was not there. That particular section came to create that deeming fiction of supply services those days. Today section 8 does that thing. So this very particular line in the advanced ruling, it does away with the concept that my distinct person by branch, I am not making any supply. So this notion to my mind is wrong. And this judgment, I am not very sure how long will it stay. But yes, this is one judgment which is there. To my humble opinion, license office is a fixed establishment. It is supplying services to foreign establishment. Right, sir? Any other questions on the license office? Though it is termed as reimbursement. You will have to look further on it. And more particularly, my dear friends, in the international taxation scenario, the reimbursement is not exigible to direct taxes. Living with it, I would still, my humble opinion is, direct tax implications are not to be read with this GST law. They will not determine. You have to read this law, take out your own logics for non-taxability. So, moving further.
So, what will be happening in a reverse case? I have a branch outside India. Or I am reimbursing the expenditure for their rental and everything.
So,
I will call a reverse charge.
My dear friend, that will definitely go under reverse charge because that will qualify the definition of import of service. Anything which is there as an import of service. Interestingly, when you read section 7, I hope this is a very basic question which I am asking and is clear to everyone. I am importing goods into India. Is it exigible to GST? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
Is GST leviable on that? No, my dear friends. I am sorry. Import of goods is taxable under Customs Act, not under GST. Merely the camouflaging of the term IGST has been done under Customs Act does not make the transaction. And secondly, import of goods has been deemed to be an interstate supply does not mean that it is a supply. Section 7, if you read the subclause 2, it covers only import of services It does not have import of goods. Section 7.1.1. Supply for consideration in course of furtherance of business. Over. 2. Import of services for a consideration, whether or not for business or not. So my dear friend, please do remember this. That import of service has been covered specifically. So license office, whatever services are being provided from outside India, that will get captured into there, and you will need to pay tax under reverse charge. Moving further. Achha, my dear friend, I hope we are also, when we have spoken about import of service, I will also like to draw your kind attention to the fact that there is a basic difference between the chargeability in the earlier law, service tax law, and the GST law, on the similar transaction of imports and exports. Under the GST, under the service tax law, the charging section 66B, what and how it read was, there shall be levied a tax called service tax on the value of all taxable services provided by one person to another in the taxable territory. In GST, we do not have this phrase in the taxable territory. We have the charge being created on all inter or intra-state supplies. So what you have to look forward to is something should fall within the ambit of interstate or intrastate. If you read section 9.1 carefully, you will find the entire GST Act is included, or it is encompassed within that particular section 9.1. Right, sir? Moving forward. Now this builder is selling flat to you. Now this builder is charging different kinds of charges from you. One will be the sale of the residential flat for 1 crore. So the flat he is saying, I'll sell at 1 crore. But I will also take club membership of 10 lakhs. I will also take stamp duty statutory charges of 20 lakhs. I will also take electricity meter deposit of 2 lakh. I will also take parking charges and EDC, IDC totaling to 18 lakhs. Simple question which has been asked in this case study is, will you be taking the entire, all of them as a composite supply, as supply of flat, and will be putting one single charge on that, or you will be taking them as distinct supplies by the supplier, which is the developer? Yes, sir.
Distinct supplies.
Distinct supplies. Sir, I am putting again some thought to you in this particular context. There is no outright answer to this. It will depend on the contract. If these choices are available separately and are given to you separately, then you can say that yes, I have a choice. But if these components are not a choice, but a part of the package, principal supply of which is the sale of land, it is but not a component of that particular supply only. There is a difference between the definition of composite supply and mixed supply. And what is the most important difference in the two definitions? Mixed supply can only happen when there is a single price. Composite supply never need to have a single price. I can give you another one small example. I have given you a contract of construction of this particular hall to you, out of which we have said that 50 lakh of bricks, which are taxable at 12%, 80 lakhs of cement, and another 20 lakhs of iron will be used. Plus there will be 50 lakhs of labor. I have given you components and their prices. Bricks and iron are taxable at 12%. Cement at 28%. Labor at 18%. What is the tax you are going to charge me on the contract? Will it be different prices, different taxes, or will there be a single tax levy? Single tax, or why single tax? Because you are wanting not these components from me, you are wanting a constructed hall. The very thing that you are wanting is a works contract, and works contract will be exigible to 18%. So the components will not decide, the valuations will not be decided by the component. The thing first has to be classified into goods or services. Then particular goods or particular services, then comes the role of valuations and other time of supply, point of place of supply. All those things will follow. But first you decide what are you supplying, sir.
Same contract. If I say you have to construct the hall, but you have not to purchase cement and steel, that I will provide.
I'll come to that, sir. I'll come to that later. That is also one of the case studies we are taking today. Right, sir? But am I very clear? The difference between a composite supply, a mixed supply, how to view it, that will depend on the nature of the contract. What is the outcome? What is the contract with you? Do you have different choices? Or is it out of compulsion of a particular contract that you have to pay those amounts? All of them will be followed. So for example, if a school charges a picnic fees also. Now that picnic fees is not something which is for the excursion separately for a child. That is a part of the overall development, a part of the education. So Shiksha, Honorable Supreme Court will take care of that. Am I very clear? So please do look into what is the contract we are going into. Now this is something which is very unique and causing a lot of trouble these days. Already you have this problem in the solar contracts. The solar power generating plants which are being set up all across India. The question is very simple. There is a contract which has been given for the overall announcement system by the railways to a particular company. Now what does railway does it? It provides a list of the equipment which the company is supposed to supply, and it also provides a technical layout as to where those particular items have to be installed everywhere. And after the installation, a testing will be conducted. Once testing will be conducted, the entire system will then be handed over to railways or whatever. Simple question, very basic simple question. Is it a contract of supply of goods, or is it a contract of supply of an immovable property? Goods, sir. Why goods? Because one of the things which has been shared by the group leaders is the entire thing is fixed with nut and bolts and can be taken out without damage. Right, sir? That is one of the things. Sir, the door which is hanging outside this particular hall is also bolted with hinges and bolts. Is it a movable or immovable? Immovable or movable? Immovable. Why? That is how it is supposed to function as part of the earth. When attached to earth, when say earth, we mean anything which is affixed with the ground. Now tell me one thing. I give you another example before we proceed further. The security cameras. I am supplying security cameras, but then I am also offering that the entire sale will happen to you, including the installation, wiring, and the entire system being in place. Am I supplying goods or am I supplying you immovable property? Goods. Were you wanting a security system from me, or were you wanting security cameras from me? When I say security system, there will be a wiring which will happen. All the security cameras will be connected to that. There will be all merging into a recorder and to a output unit, and there is where the entire system can be controlled from. Are you looking towards a security system or the security cameras? We are looking towards a security system. Now, if I am not putting the security camera at the right place, I was supposed to place it here, I placed it in the middle. So that particular section remains uncovered. It is not covered by the visibility of that camera. Is it fine with you because you were looking towards having a particular camera with you? You were wanting to have goods. So I made you a supply of goods. Contract should be over. Is it a supply of movable goods? No, it was not a supply of movable goods. It was a supply of the entire integrated system. And when you look at the integrated system, all those security cameras duly wired, going into the control room, will you call this as an immovable property? No, sir. That becomes a part of parcel of the entire immovable property, and you cannot bring them down by your choice. that particular thing will only function. There is a difference between functioning of a camera and functioning of the entire security system. That security system will function when all the units are working properly in an integrated manner. What you want is a system, not the camera. Camera is movable, system is immovable. Am I very clear, sir? So when somebody is supplying something which is an integrated system where there is a specification of things being located at different places, then that is a supply of an immovable property to my humble submission. And when we talk about that, the components of or the test of immovable property, we have to refer to some of the precedents. First is test of movability. When we see a test of movability, can you move that object from its location? Can it function in the similar manner by merely moving? Sir, that system, if you are budging one camera from one location to other, system will not work. That system requires that camera to be there. That system, announcement system, जो आपका announcement system, when you get into a railway platform, and you are entering, if the board is not like this in front of you but like this, will it serve any purpose? No. It will not. So the intention was not to buy the board, but the system, the integrated system as it should function. So movability is the first thing. You also have to look into the decision of Messrs. Bharti Airtel Limited, which is a Mumbai High Court judgment pending before Honorable Supreme Court. The contention of the assessee in this particular case was, I am supplying the towers, and those towers are movable, and the movable towers can be unbolted without damage from the civil base and can be transferred to any other cell site, and therefore the credit should be allowed to me because these are movable towers. One of the contentions, I would say. The Honorable Mumbai High Court said, no, these are not movable towers, these are immovable properties. The property, once it was affixed to earth by way of your nut and bolts, the entire nature has transformed into, resulting into an immovable property. And for that, one can definitely refer to the municipal acts and other laws. So, my dear friend, when you are dealing with the immovable property, the movability is not to be seen whether that can be devoid, that can be severed from the earth or not. It has to put to the test whether that particular item, which is immovable, functions in an immovable manner or otherwise. Next, this is one of the very important judgments I will refer to. Solid and correct engineering. Now this particular judgment, these structures were also custom made for the fixing of such machine without which the same could not become functional. So along with the movability, the functionality also is equally important. And if the functionality cannot happen without that particular thing affixed to the earth, that item becomes an immovable item. Yes, please.
So if you say, so far we thought these are all planet machines. Okay. So in the opposite side, so they have conveyors, right? Conveyors where the body will move on so that the car will come out. Okay. So the conveyor as such is a planet machine. So as of even now. Okay. So by what you said, it is taken to the nuts and bolts and it is attached to the earth. Right? So what? It is available now. That's all.
Is it? Credit of that is available or not? Sir, ITC was yesterday. I am confusing you with the works contract. My job is limited. ITC is available, sir. To my humble opinion, yes. Coming on to back to the topic of immovability. So we have looked into the judgment where the functionality is equally important as to the movability. Test of permanency. Again, this one test is to be seen whether that particular item which is affixed to earth is supposed to be attached permanently, or I am putting this dais here today. Is it immovable, sir? No. I can put it there. I can put it anywhere as per the requirement of my customer. So this remains movable. But when I talk about the HVAC which is installed in this particular property, is it movable? Though I can take down the entire HVAC by unscrewing all the nuts and bolts. So there is a permanency which is attached to the functionality also. It is supposed to be in that particular position forever, and therefore the test of permanence is also passed. Third, test of marketability. Can those particular goods, which when combined together resulting into a particular system, can they be sold as such or not? No. Sale of a system and sale of the components of a system are two different. The sale of a system also has an element of technical skills of installation of that particular system. And therefore, that particular test is different from the supply of those components per se individually. So this is the third. And fourth, emergence of a new product. Can the components, when they are looked today differently, can they be called a complete system in itself? No, sir. They taken together, joined together in a particular manner can result into a workable system. So there is a new product which emerges. So that security camera no longer remains a security camera for sale. It has become a part of the security system. So system is bigger, comprehensive, and has a functionality bigger than the component itself. Am I very clear? So there is an emergence of a new product by itself. My dear friend, please also appreciate that we are living into an era where things have gone into the plug and play mode over time. If I was to speak about a false ceiling 10 years back, the only perception which we had about false ceiling is there will be a plaster of Paris, but before that there will be a mesh which will be laid down, and then there will be plaster of Paris, which will be attached to the false ceiling. But today, when I called for a false ceiling, the person came out with 3 different options. He said you can have a mesh, you can also have the tiles, and third thing is you can also place long POP tiles which can be removed anytime. I hope everyone has seen those square tiles which are there in offices. Cannot you take out all those tiles at any given time without causing any damage? Yes or no?
Yes.
So installation or fixing those particular tiles, will it result to a movable or immovable property? Yes sir. Immovable property, I hope you are not giving them a nature of movable, because tomorrow you can take it out without damage. Permanence, functionality. These are the things you will be looking into. Okay, what is the intent of placing that tile here? It is supposed to be permanently be like that. That is what I needed to do. I don't need a tile, I need a false ceiling, which is entirely a different thing than the tile in its individuality. Right sir? So works contract, we are very clear. How we look at it will be again a thing. And number 3, even if I am charging for my components of works contract separately, goods will be so much, services will be so much, that is not going to change the color or nature of the works contract. It still remains works contract. The moment I divide the contract between supply of goods and supply of services, then it becomes a contract which is 2 different contracts, one of supply, one of service. I will take you to the definition of works contract. 3 phrases I have underlined. Works contract means a contract. So first of all, there should be a contract wherein there is a transfer of property during the execution of the contract. So if the transfer of property happens prior to the execution of the contract, that is not a works contract. So supply of goods should happen as a part. So another example which I like to take, sir, you have asked a person to do a pest treatment of this particular home. So he came with a big machine and he has put the chemicals all across. Right sir? So those chemicals have been left here in this particular immovable property. Is it a works contract or not? Is it a works contract or not? Is there any transfer of property in goods, sir? Has it happened to you? So that has happened to the insects or rats, but not to us. So there is no transfer of property which has happened. Another example, so this was covered in the pest control decision, Bihar High Court. Another example, Kerala High Court. You have your brother's marriage and you have asked a firecracker wala, please burn firecrackers throughout the way. So he is using those goods, lighting up the sky during the entire marriage. Is this a works contract or not? Yes or no? Has there any transfer of property which has happened during the execution of the contract? Everything went off in air. No transfer of property. But if you have given a contract to paint this particular wall, is this a works contract or not? Yes sir, the paint has come to you. It has become the part of your immovable property and therefore this is a works contract. So please do remember these three very crucial components, section 2, subsection 119. Right sir, we move forward. I am not going into that solar. Now this is a very interesting case, very simple case. You have provided the logo and the design and you have given the contract to a public printer. The paper, the ink and any other component, the basic roller, etc., whatever, everything was that of the printer. He has given you printed wrappers with your logo and your design. Is it a contract of supply of goods or is it a contract of supply of services? Yes sir. Goods. What he has given me is goods. No sir. The person has given me the supply of printed material as I wanted from him. He has undertaken a job work for me. The logos, the designs which are being printed on that particular paper never belong to him. He took a job of printing. So it is a service. I again replicate this with this. I am the author of this book. Right sir? I have given you the contract, so I have a copyright. I have given you the contract, take my entire content, print this into a book and give it back to me. Are you supplying me the book or are you supplying me printing services? Sale of book is exempt. Supply of book is exempt, but supply of printing work is not exempt. Please do keep these things in mind. Now I am expanding my example. You are one person who is into manufacturing of shoes and I am Nike. I am giving you my logo, my design to manufacture a shoe and give me 100 quantities of that. Are you supplying me shoes or are you supplying me services of manufactured shoes? You are supplying me shoes. Sanjay sir? Services. The design, the logo, they were ever a part of you. They always belong to me. So you have only extended the services of contract manufacturing to me. My dear friend, there is a difference between the earlier era when we had the taxing event as manufacture and sale. Manufacture is not today a taxing event. You are not bothered who is manufacturing. What you are looking forward to is what the other person is supplying. Can he supply something which belongs to me? Can he supply me a design which belongs to me? He cannot. He will only put that particular thing into a particular shape and give it to me as per my requirement. So he is providing or supplying services to me and not a particular goods. Right sir? So don't go with the definition of manufacture what we had. The concept of manufacture was altogether a different concept. The concept of sale was altogether different. The concept of supply. What is the intent the two persons are wanting from inter-se? What as a recipient I am looking forward from you. You are the supplier. That is more important than what is being supplied in physical form. Right sir? We now come to the concept of intermediary of services. Simple, very simple example. I am an air travel agent. I am booking tickets for my customers. I have two business models which I am following. Number one, you came to me, Gaurav booked me a ticket of Indigo from Bangalore to Delhi. And I booked the ticket and took a transaction fee of 100 rupees. right? What is my supply to you? Is it booking of ticket or something else? Booking of ticket. And what should I pay tax on? I will be paying tax on that transaction fee which I charge for, which is the valuation of that particular supply. So what will that be? 18% of that 100 rupees. If I am changing this model to another model whereby I am providing an air ticket to you and I am charging a consolidated charge from you, I am not disclosing my transaction fee to you. So I got the ticket for 8,000 rupees. I am selling it to you at 10,000 rupees. What is the supply I am making to you? So I have told the airlines also, take my GST number, pass the credit to me. I will pass the credit to my customer. So what is the supply I am making to you? Am I still an air travel agent or have I stepped into some other capacity?
Travel agent, but he's a pure agent.
Air travel agent, but he is a pure agent.
Yes.
So when we speak about pure agent, what do we understand by pure agent? That is what I am wanting to discuss. Who is a pure agent? Anything which is taken as reimbursement, we understand as a pure agent. So the entire concept of reimbursement is flawed. There is nothing called reimbursement. When we say reimbursement, what we say reimbursement is when you are providing something, and you are charging cost to cost basis, that is in a layman term called reimbursement. When we talk about pure agent, it does not look into the concept what you are charging for. The basis is the privity. When you speak about privity, the privity of that particular supply should be between two other persons and you are a mere conduit for payment. That is pure agent. But if you are taking any supply of service in your own capacity and supplying on a P2P basis, he is not a pure agent. So once you have asked the airline to supply ticket to you, you are outside the purview of a pure agent for sure. Right, my friends? When you speak about this particular industry, I can tell you one thing, the color has been camouflaged over the period of time. I hope many of you must have traveled in the days when Air India used to have that booklet ticket, right? And everything was duly coded. Now, over the period of time, what has happened? It has converted into an electronic ticket. In the days of Air India red ticket booklet, can any travel agent change the value of that particular ticket? It was hard-coded everything. But in the era of electronic ticket, what happens? I get a word format from my airline. I have a choice because it is in word format, I can manipulate with the figures. And that is what most of the air travel agents today are doing. First of all, they cannot legally do so. Secondly, when they are doing so, they do not step into the shoes of the airline travel transport service. Am I very clear? They still remain air travel agents. They don't become the transporter of passengers through air. They are not providing those services. So even if they are getting an invoice and they are issuing an invoice so, can they issue the invoice as a transporter by air? They cannot. And if you are issuing an invoice without providing these services, so my dear friend, tell me one thing. Is it correct under the GST law? No, my dear friends. And also you are stepping into the shoes of a higher risk because you are undertaking a contract which you are not supposed to because you are never providing those services, but you are expanding your scope yourself. So tomorrow if your baggage is lost and the customer calls up air travel agent, sir, you had issued me the invoice for a transport by air. You are the one from whom I am taking this. So I lost my baggage. Do you think that air travel agent will ever recognize that kind of a loss with him? No. It is a case of the identified principle. The principle is known. Who is the carrier? It is known to whom. And therefore that particular man who is selling the ticket still remains an agent. So this particular invoice where you are not supplying a service, but you are issuing an invoice for a service, is a wrong invoice in GST. He is an air travel agent, he should rectify his business model to remain a air travel agent. My dear friends, my time is up in terms of this particular session. I'm left with one particular case study, the check and balancing. I think all of you have discussed that, but before we part, I am leaving you with one thought in that particular case study. The question was, you are provider of or supplier of security services. I am the recipient, but I am providing the food, accommodation and uniform to your security guards. Will the supplier include the three components in the value of his supply? Yes or no? As per section 15 subsection 2, any obligation of the supplier when met by the recipient is to be added to the value of the supplier. My dear friend, I am wanting you to look at further beyond that. It is not about mere valuation from the perspective of the supplier. It is about looking at it from the perspective whether this is amounting to two different supplies. From the recipient, that of food, accommodation, uniform, and from the supplier, that of security service. So two different supplies or merely a value addition under section 15(2) in the value of the services of the supplier. So with this particular thought, I thank you for being such a lovely audience. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. It has been a wonderful session, and I think you were able to cover all the questions except the last one. And it always happens that when you're given and we are sorry that we took away 15 minutes of yours in the initial stage, but many of them wanted to hear Mr. Madhukar, so we thought that we'll have that session also. Thank you very much for coming over here, and I request Sanjay Bhai to come and give a memento to Gaurav for putting all the efforts. He had a very late night yesterday, traveling all the way from Delhi, spending 7 hours coming on the way here with the beautiful Bangalore traffic. And I will hope you catch your flight on time, taking the Bangalore traffic into account.
Sir, I'll ask you personal.
Yes, sir. And the list of the winners of the quiz, Rajesh, well, Rajesh, list of the winners. So what we'll do is now we break for a cup of tea. Tea is ready. So we break for a cup of tea and then we announce the winners. I think Pooja has gone out. I'm not sure she was here for such a long time. So we break for 15 minutes and then we come back here for the quiz round. I would request everybody to be present here because it will be a wonderful time sharing knowledge and also networking. We are mixing up this quiz session with the quiz as well as networking. Okay, thank you very much.